we're thrilled to be at the Y. I'm thrilled to be talking to Mike and Nell, and let's get right into it. The book, if for those of you who don't know, basically centers on a few-month period in time when Mike was shooting during the day the #1 TV show in the world, Family Ties, and at night what would be the #1 movie, Back to the Future. And
number two TV show.
Yeah.
Cosby had #1. Cosby had a death grip on
Cosby was one. You were #2.
Yeah.
So let's get right into it. When you got Family Ties, you were basically at the end. You had been out in LA. You were kind of at this point looking for food in dumpsters. It was not going well for you.
It was ugly. It was really ugly. I was going to friends' house, and when they weren't looking through their sofas for change, I just had no money, and I was completely destitute. I'd been in Los Angeles for 3 years. I'd done every bad '80s show you can think of. Lou Grant, Trapper John, Here's Boomer. I just did them all, and so my trajectory was not going the way I wanted it to. I saw myself as Dustin Hoffman, and I was not Dustin Hoffman. So it was just getting really bad, and then I had I was down to really. It was really the February, March of '82, and I knew it was it. I had to go. I had to leave. I didn't have enough money to buy a ticket to go back to Canada. I owed the IRS $50,000. My brother offered me a job picking up nails on his construction site. He was a construction superintendent. That didn't sound good. And I had 2 auditions. I had one audition for a play, and one audition for a TV sitcom. And the sitcom was Family Ties. And I read the creative producer Gary David Goldberg, who features in this book, hated me, and just thought he wanted Matthew Broderick. And I said, who doesn't want Matthew Broderick? Everybody wants Matthew Broderick. I'm the guy, Matthew Broderick. So it was really looking bad. And then Judith Weiner, the casting director, said, see him one more time. So I went one more time, saw him, and that was it. He became my champion. He just really...
He didn't even remember seeing you the first time.
No.
It's like where they've been keeping you. And Brendan Tartakoff fought against you.
Yeah, Brendan Tartakoff hated me. They all hated me. I don't know why I'm so hate-worthy, but they hated me. And Brandon said to Gary, can you see his face on a lunchbox? So a couple years later, I had a lunchbox made. I said, dear Brandon, this is food to put your crow in.
When did you know you had something special with Family Ties?
I think I knew for me personally that was something special, in only that it brought out a new side of me that I'd never seen before. When we did the pilot, I just all of a sudden was making, same kind of thing happened with Marty McFly later on, because it happened so fast, to a certain extent. I mean, it happened really fast, so I didn't have a chance to develop anything. So I was just doing stuff, and the comic writing led me to this new kind of rhythm and pace. And I started to do that, and I said, wow, this really works. The writers really liked it. And we did we shot in front of a live audience, and they went bananas. And I thought, wow, I'm onto something here.
Well, you obviously were onto something, because about 4 weeks into the show, they came back with research from NBC that said, the show's great, and everybody loves you. And all of a sudden, the show, they were going to shift the entire focus around you. And you're working with 2 very established actors, Meredith Baxter and David and Michael Gross. And how was that for them, with you all of a sudden becoming, the nadir of the show?
Well, Nell had a take on that, because Nell's my partner, Nelle Fortenberry. And Nell, curiously enough, was an executive at NBC at that time. So what was the juice?
I came into NBC when the show was already a hit, but I was the executive on the show the last 2 seasons. But by then, Gary Goldberg wouldn't even let me say hello to Michael. So even though I was the NBC exec on the show, I never met him. And the show obviously was a huge hit and really didn't need a lot of network input at that point. But I don't think
we'd be #1 with you.
Exactly. You are so right about that. But I don't think when they bought Family Ties, they expected it to do as well as it did. But he became a huge hit.
So you became a huge star. You're cruising along 3 years into it. Unbeknownst, you're not thinking about it, but there's this movie being made. Not everybody knows this, but Back to the Future started being made and was shot for a month with another actor, Eric Stoltz.
6 weeks.
And 6 weeks they were shooting, and basically Why don't you pick up the story from there? Because
Well, back a little earlier, I was doing this whole thing. I had some time off before I knew about this. I had some time off, Family Ties, because Meredith Baxter was having babies, twins, and so we had this time. So they asked me to do a werewolf movie. So I was so desperate I don't know what I was desperate to do, be Michael Landon, I guess. I did the movie, and then it was well, should I tell you? Oh, so I'm doing the movie. I'm doing Teen Wolf. That's what I was tell you. I was doing Teen Wolf, and I'm in my trailer, and I hear all this ruckus outside, and I look, and there's another production company that's scouting locations in this area in Pasadena where we were shooting Teen Wolf. And I said to this friend of mine, I said, what's going on? He said, oh, they're scouting locations for Back to the Future, a new Steven Spielberg movie. I said, wow, who's in it? He said, Crispin Glover. And I knew Crispin had done a Family Ties episode. And Crispin was brilliant, but really out there. and I said, oh, shit, Crispin's got a Steven Spielberg movie, and I'm shooting a werewolf movie. Where's the justice in that? and so then, cut to a couple weeks later, I get called into Gary's office. This is now just before Christmas, and I get called into Gary's office, and he says, he said, I didn't tell you this, but a few months ago, Steven Spielberg came to me, and Bob Zemeckis said they wanted you to be in their new film. I had to say no, because I can't let you go. And I thought, well, I did a werewolf movie. I can figure this out somehow. But so then it was this big shot. I thought, wow, that really sucks. And then he said, but they've come back to me again because it's not working out with the actor they hired, and they reshoot it, and they're asking, and this time I'm going to let you do it. And I said, wow, great. And he said, the only thing is you have to do the show in the daytime, the movie at night. I don't want to hear that you're late. I don't want to hear that you're tired. I don't want to hear anything. I just want to see you being Alex every day, same as usual. So I said, great. So he said, take the script, read it, and tell me what you think. So I took it, held it up to my ear, and I said, it's the best script I ever read. and that was it, and then we're off.
at this point, are you kind of pinching yourself that you just got this hit show and now you're in a Spielberg movie? You talk about being in a room with Spielberg and Zemeckis and Bob Gale and all these guys, and you're like, what am I doing here? This is incredible.
Remember, I was looking at stamps for the nutritious value. A few months earlier. I mean, I went from poverty to in 2 or 3 years to this thing where Steven Spielberg and Bob Zemeckis are battling for my attentions.
So you have the unenviable task of walking onto it. So the movie had been shot for about 6 weeks, as you said, and Zemeckis was not happy with it. Eric's a great actor, and you give him a lot of kudos in the book, but he was playing it a little more serious than they had envisioned, and they made the very tough decision to pull the plug. And you have to walk into a set with actors that you didn't really know, who had been attached to another actor. That's a tough gig to walk into.
Wonderful. What happened to me was that well, because it's from a female perspective, Leah's take on me.
Right.
And Leah, the first things I did was with Leah and with Chris. Well, Chris was, I'll tell Chris first, and then you tell Leah.
Right.
Chris was my first night, I show up, and I'm in this parking lot in what's it called?
City of Industry.
City of Industry. Every bit as charming as it sounds.
Yeah.
And it was lit, like this parking lot was lit for days. And I thought, they spent more money on lighting that parking lot. We did a whole episode of Family Ties. and I knew I was in the bigs. And then I do this one thing where I skateboard down this little rise. I flip my skateboard up, catch it. Did that successfully, which I was really happy with. And then I do the scene, and they say, okay, Chris is going to come out of the van, and you do the DeLorean thing. So we hadn't done anything. We'd rehearsed it. We hadn't done anything. And he comes out, and I said, you built a time machine? And he was going off like, I'm watching this guy, Reverend Jim. I mean, and you're doing all this stuff, and I just thought, holy shit, what am I into? And it just was amazing from then on. And the rhythm of it, because we didn't have to, it wasn't something that you could sit down and blueprint. It just had to happen organically. And like if we sat down and said, okay, you portray this attitude, or I would do this, or it would have been no good. It was just insanity. It was just this.
So nobody even briefed you and said, well, Marty should be doing this, or there was no rehearsal. You just brought this character with no setup, no nothing. It was just, nobody said, Michael, do this. You just became Marty McFly.
Yeah, it was great was getting it from the other actors. Like with Leah, doing it with Leah. Like Leah thought I was a bum.
Leah she admits when we interviewed her for the book, she said, I really expected very little of you. You came from the sitcom world.
Yes.
And
there was a hierarchy
yes,
at that point.
Well below.
It's not like today where the big movie stars are doing TV
Exactly.
shows.
There's lots of, back and forth. But at the time, Eric Stoltz was a movie actor. Michael's a TV actor. So they were both, the cast was very disturbed by Eric getting fired and then hiring a sitcom actor to come in to replace him. And Leah and Michael met just very briefly before they shot that scene in the bedroom, the Calvin Klein scene. They had just said hello, and she's pissed at him. So, that the whole dynamic between the two of them, I think, is fascinating when you watch it in the film now, because she just very quickly saw that he had a totally different take on this, and then she followed him, and it became a comedy instead of a drama.
Well, I was talking to you backstage about this, how physical the role was, and even in that first scene that you shot with Leah, the thing where you put your pants on and fall down, you just completely ad-libbed that.
Yeah.
No, I put the pants on, I fell down.
Yeah.
and then we came Bob said, get the man a cushion next time. But it was amazing because Leah was so good, and so the way I wanted the way to me. To a woman's heart was through a joke. So I wrote a joke for her. In that scene, I wrote a joke for her where her line was, I said, where are my pants? She said, over there. And then I said, to Bob Smith, I said, for me, it's like my second night on the job to pitch jokes, but that's my world. Yeah. My world where we pitch jokes all the time. I had a joke, which is over there on my hope chest. And he said, hope chest, that's good. And then she did it. She did it so well. She said, on my hope chest? Yeah. It was dynamite, and I knew I was in.
Let's talk about the days, because you get exhausted reading the book, and Nell, I want you to jump in, because his memory was, he said, literally you guys talked about that, he couldn't remember certain things. He was these 20-hour days. You were getting picked up by at 7 in the morning or whatever time it was by a Teamster. You always talk about the Teamster guys. You have great affection for them. And how they're driving you to the set and then they take you to the other set. Talk about a day, and both you guys jump in about what a day in the life was at that point.
Teamsters, by the way, are the heartbeat of any production. Because they get all the scuttlebutt. They get all this stuff. Everybody gets in their car in the morning and bitches about everybody else, and they hear it all, and they know the rhythms of what's happening, when you're going to shoot things, and when... Like Steven Spielberg would get in the car and say we're 2 weeks behind schedule, and the Teamsters go, no, 2.5. The Teamsters know everything. So I had these Teamsters, they were great, and they would pick me up. One Teamster would pick me up in the morning, and then after Family Ties, I'd get in the car and we'd go over the Cahuenga Pass. Anybody familiar with Los Angeles? It's the Cahuenga Pass, which conveniently goes from Gower and 101, which is where Paramount is, to Lancashire and Ventura Boulevard, which is where Universal is. So, quick shot. And I'd been on that, I say in the book, I'd been on that path earlier when I was 10, and we went down to Los Angeles and visited Universal Studios. And I remember the bus driver saying, down to the left was Hollywood. Don't worry, we won't be going down there. I was really disappointed. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, what was I saying? I don't know.
Just in terms of the long days, I mean, one of the things I was telling Donny backstage is that when we first started to work on the book, Mike said, I don't really remember much of Back to the Future. He was worried that we wouldn't have enough stories to tell because he was just getting through those days with very little sleep. And it wasn't until we started to really meet with the other cast members and Zemeckis and Bob Gale, like the stories started to pour out of him. But one thing in particular that really struck me is that when we delivered the book to Flatiron, the copy editor came back to us and said that we'd gotten something wrong in the book, that the name of Einstein, the dog, was Tiger, and Michael said, no, that dog was named OJ. And here Michael had said he didn't remember anything, and truthfully at our age, like I don't remember what I did last Tuesday, let alone a Tuesday in 1985, but at any rate, so he was insistent that dog was named OJ. So I called Bob Gale and I said, what was the name of the dog in Back to the Future? And he said it was Tiger, same as the copy editor. Because if you Google it, if you go online, if you read anything ever written about Back to the Future, that dog is named Tiger.
Here's how sick my memory is. Tiger was the name of the Brady Bunch dog.
Of the what dog?
Brady Bunch dog.
Oh, the Brady Bunch dog was Tiger. That's exactly right. So at any rate, Bob Gale pulled all the production reports just to make sure. And sure enough, Tiger was Eric Stoltz's Einstein, and OJ was his dog. So he was right.
So you're in the car, and there are three people in the car with you. There's Michael, there's Alex Keaton, and there's Marty McFly. And how did you kind of like keep it together? I mean, you playing these, immersed in these two characters in the same day, every day.
Well, the story I was telling, it wraps up best is we had a table outside of the entrance to the kitchen. All the major entrances to the scene, to the set in Family Ties, we had prop tables. Yeah. Where your prop would be if you needed a prop for the scene. And they had like tags and mics, props. And so I went one day I was doing a scene. Started the scene, I'm waiting for my cue. Look down at the table, go to grab my camcorder, and I'm freaking out. My camcorder's not there. Where the hell is my camcorder? I'm calling Chalo, the prop, Chalo. And I can't find it. And then it struck me, Marty has the camcorder. Alex has the briefcase. And I mean, that's just true, but it was real. It was like, it was just like, so we took some pictures. We put some pictures in the book. Well, you describe those pictures. This is so funny. You describe those pictures. Because the pictures. How
torturous it was, or what?
The pictures in the book. Just that we have a picture of me.
Oh yes. Right. So one of the things we really wanted when we started searching for photographs. First of all, Family Ties pictures are very hard to find because Paramount Television doesn't exist anymore, and it's just really hard to put our hands on the pictures from that exact period of months that he was doing double duty. But we also wanted to see whether or not there were any photos of him looking tired, acting tired, sleeping on set. Those were also very difficult to come by, but there's 3 of them in the book. And I think they're great.
When is leaning against the wall?
He's sleeping standing up. Yeah.
My forehead, it's like the Wailing Wall. I'm like, my forehead is the wall.
There are so many iconic parts to the movie, but the part that stays closest to your heart is the music scene and the Johnny B. Good scene, which you've over the years been playing over and over again. If you've ever seen it, it's incredible. Talk to me about that whole experience, because it's such a big part of you.
A major experience in my life. In the book, talking about pictures in the book. The reason I throw it all on this stuff is she's put this thing together, this book together. Like the fact that makes any sense is due to is Nelle's fault. But we found some pictures of my old band, like in junior high, and some pictures of me, like a picture of me in the hallway with 2 guitars. I was just a guitar freak, and I loved to play. And so when this came up, and I like I said, I put the script in my ear and said, I'll take it. I didn't know there was skateboarding in it, and good-looking girls, and guitars, and cars, and so it was perfect for me. And so we got the script, and I read it, and I thought, well, how am I going to do this? Am I going to play this? And I was confident that I could play Johnny B. Good. I didn't think my singing would be that good. But then they talked to me and said, no, we've already recorded the track with this guitarist and with the singer from Jack Mack and the Heart Attack was the vocalist on it. And I was happy with the vocal part. I said, I can lip sync it. No problem with that. The guitar, if I can't play it, I like to finger sync it. I like you to be able to shoot my hands at any time. I'll play that thing note for note, and you just be prepared to shoot it. And I don't think they knew what I meant by that, but then they gave me what was the name of the choreographer?
Oh, well, Paul Hansen was your guitar teacher.
Yeah.
The choreographer,
It's up here?
we never met.
Yeah, we never met him.
Yeah.
I met him, but
Yeah.
years ago. But we sat and talked about it, and I said I want to do this thing in the script. The script as written, and you're more. Sorry, I keep turning now, but you're more familiar with me than this. What it said about as written, it was different.
So the scene is written. We purposely put the scene in the book as it was written, Johnny Be Good. And it's kind of silly, frankly. It was like Marty is imitating Elvis and Michael Jackson, and he's doing pelvis moves and the moonwalk. And of course, the kids are looking at him like he's insane. And Michael, when he came aboard, he talked to Bob. Bob said, do whatever you want. So he worked with a choreographer and with Paul Hansen, his guitar teacher. And they together came up with everything you see in Johnny Be Good. All the tributes to his guitar heroes.
Well, that's what I said. I said, let's make it about my guitar heroes. And so we started to break them down and say, what did Jimmy Page do? What did Jimi Hendrix do?
Right.
What did Pete Townsend do? What did Eddie Van Halen do? And so we worked all those bits in, and it was just so much fun. It was so like, it's just like this great, like I always wanted to be a rock and roll star. That's what I wanted to be. I didn't want to be an actor, really. I wanted to be a rock and roller. And if I could play, like Stevie Ray Vaughan, I don't care if I ever acted again. If I could play the guitar like that, that'd be it for me. And I wouldn't even need to be rich and famous. I'd just sit in a room and play like that. And so it was amazing to do it, and it all came together. And as a scene, it's not necessary. In the movie, it's not necessary because it kind of slows down the action because all this stuff is happening. Biff just got knocked out, and then the guys are locked in the trunk, and
Your parents are together finally.
my parents are together, and it's all happening.
Right.
And we stopped to do a musical number.
Yeah.
What was great about it was that not only fulfillment of my dreams about my self and what I loved to do, but as pertaining to the script, it was great for Marty to have this moment of realization when he really needed it, when he really needed this moment of self-belief, and all the stuff he talked to his girlfriend in the parking lot about it, but nobody believes me, and nobody will give me a chance, and Huey saying too darn loud, and then he finds himself in this place where he gets to just lay it out there. And so, in a way, it was really counterproductive or counterintuitive that you would have that scene there, but I was really happy it was.
It was a Gibson guitar, and there's a story in the book years later. You're down in Nashville at the famous kind of Gibson guitar store, and pick up the story from there.
Well, I went down. I didn't tell him I was coming. I just went the Gibson garage in Nashville, where the Gibson showroom is, and I first time in Nashville, I wanted to go there, and so I went. And I'm just looking through the guitars, and this guy kind of notices me, and I figured that was going to happen. And then he said, Mike, you got to come back here. So he took me back through the labyrinth of hallways, really interesting place, to this room with a big safe. And he opened the safe, and there was stands with all these guitars, like Jimmy Page's double neck Gibson SG, and all these great guitars, every guitarist you can think of. Right. And then there was one stand that was empty. And he said, that's for the Back to the Future guitar, we can't find it. I said, wow, that's cool. I mean, it's not cool that you can't find it, but it's cool that you hold it in such high regard. And then now, so then they did a documentary about trying to find this guitar, and they're still trying to find it. I think they tracked down the one from the second movie, but they haven't tracked down the one from the first movie yet. And I don't know, they're coming out with a new Marty McFly version of the guitar. I can't say that, but I just did.
All right. Keep it to yourselves. Don't mention it to anybody.
Now, what's the process of when you're sitting down with Mike and trying to pull it out of him? I mean, literally, that's got to be kind of an interesting dance that you guys do together.
Well, we've known each other for 30 years, and we're very good friends, and that really helps. And he's hilarious, as you can all see. When he first pitched the idea of the book, it was less than a year to that moment to when we had to deliver the manuscript. So he said, do you think anybody might be interested in a kind of behind-the-scenes look at how Back to the Future was made? Because it's the 40th anniversary of the film this year. And Universal is re-releasing the film for the first time in IMAX on October 21st, Back to the Future Day. And then it's going into 1,700 theaters worldwide on October 31st. So we wanted to time the book to that. But he said, do you think anybody would read this book? Yes, I will read that book. I'm excited about that book. So the first thing we did was watch Back to the Future. He came over to my house, we watched the movie. Well, first we sold the book in like 12 hours. And then he came over, we watched the film, and he really has seen it very little in his whole lifetime. So he enjoyed it so much that when it finished, Debbie Brooks was there with us, who runs the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And he finished the film, he said, let's watch it again. So we did. And that was sort of the beginning. We just kept really copious notes all the way along, and I would just ask him questions like, tell me about the first time you met Bob Zemeckis. What happened on the first night of filming? What was your last day of filming? What was the most difficult? And then those stories started to pour out of him, and we started to piece together the narrative for the book.
Speaking about watching the movie, you told the story in the book how years later you're in the kitchen and you somehow start watching Back to the Future, and you say to yourself, I was really good at that.
Yeah, we were decorating a tree, and I went to go to the kitchen to get something, and I left the living room, and as I'm walking by the kitchen, I heard, no. And I looked at it, it's a movie, the movie's starting, and so I just kind of drifted over to the sofa, and I started looking at it, and then cut to an hour later, she said, where the hell are you? I said, I'm watching Back to the Future, and it's pretty good. But it's such a fun movie because it's like I said to George the other day, our mutual friend George Stephanopoulos, and he said that he asked me about. He said, do people say that Back to the Future is a nearly perfect movie? And I said, well, I'm the nearly part. It's a pretty good movie. I can't take credit for it, but it's such an infusion of goodness and family and hope and bullies getting beat up by good guys. And,
very topical with bullies in the world now, and such a big part of the movie is standing up to a bully.
Yeah, I was always bullied when I was little because I was always little. And
there you go.
Yeah, but I found ways to deal with it. One way is to disarm people with laughter and make them laugh, and usually you're smarter than a bully, so you got to think them in some way, or you could hit them, or you could run, or you could hit them and then run. So the movie was a lot about bullies to me. Biff was a bully, and Time was a bully, and there were all kinds of unreasonable belligerent forces against Doc, and we all find that now. And it's really, and what people love about the movie, I think, is that there's always some smart ass who comes at the end when everybody's feeling good about each other and goes, yeah, but really, and then a couple people get courage from that and go, yeah. And then you get more people doing it. And then now you're back in the hole again. You're trying to appeal to people's better selves. And this movie appeals to people's better selves. And that's what I really love about it.
You wrap the movie and you see it for the first time. You go yourself into a theater, that famous, what's called the Cineramics Theater, that round theater, and tell the story, because coincidentally you're sitting right behind somebody that is very well known, and you're watching. Tell me about the people's reaction to the movie and how you had this moment of, wow, I'm not in Kansas anymore.
When the movie opened, I was in London doing Family Ties Goes to London, which is really silly.
I'm sure you all remember that.
It was really silly.
It was silly.
And I'm glad Paramount Television doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, that's why Paramount TV went out of business.
Pull that one out. But the worst part of it was I was over there when the movie opened, and so I didn't. My agent Peter called me, and it was at 4 a.m. I'd been drinking at the pubs, and I was. He said, I just saw your movie. I said, what movie? He said, Back to the Future. I said, I'm sorry, I screwed up. I'll do it better next time. He said, no, you don't understand. It's huge. It's big. It's the biggest hit in the world. And I couldn't get it. And then I went back to the States, and I'm getting more and more. I'm doing more and more interviews, and I'm really starting to get a grip on how big this is and how good it was for me. But I didn't really get it till I got to the Cinerama Dome, and I'm in the car from the airport, and see the lines around the block, literally lines around the block. It was always an expression to me, but it became a real thing. Lines around the block, and so a cop pulled me over because I was sticking my head out the sunroof. And I said, sorry, that's my movie. This is my movie. I just came back from England. I don't know. And he said, go see a movie. So I went and saw the movie, and I couldn't believe people just were going apeshit. People were going crazy. And I wasn't really getting it because I was more watching the people than watching the movie. And I was afraid to watch the movie. I was convinced that I didn't do it. Because I didn't have a chance to prepare for it. So it was all just on the fly. Yep. You never had a chance to step back and look at it. We were just doing it. So then the movie ends, everyone's up, and they stand up for the movie, which in a theater never happens. And this blonde girl who was sitting in front of me turned around as she was getting her bag or whatever, and it was Jodie Foster. I thought, how cool, Jodie Foster. But I didn't want to say anything to her, and she, I could tell she was very quickly restrained if I had to get out of the theater. And I thought, wow, I just had the sense that I had to get used to that level of being aware of being in public. Because I always had this, based on nothing, this fear that anyone would recognize me. And I got to see this pro at dealing with that do the same thing. And I thought, wow, the world has changed. A different world for me.
You realize that when you looked up on screen, you're used to seeing yourself in a box. And here you are 25 feet tall, and you kind of realize this thing's going to be different from here.
You're on television, people see you, and they're on their toilet, they're in their bed, they're eating sandwiches or doing whatever, like just living life, and you're there, and you're kind of a presence, and Alex, and then you're on this giant screen, you're 30 feet tall, and people have made a choice to come to a cathedral, a big gathering place, and see you as strangers, have a communal experience based on you. It's a whole different thing. And you can't claim any credit for it. They can't. Like, for me, it was very humbling because it was just like it's ridiculous. Like, I'm not that 30-foot guy, I'm 5'4". If I'm lucky. and so it was just the whole movie, the whole thing. That's why I wanted to write the book. It's just amazing how opportunity and gratitude. Like, if your opportunity comes up, you grab it and you're grateful for it. And that's life is opportunity and gratitude for me.
So true.
When you look back, do you remember it all feeling, because this whole thing was on your shoulders, you're this 24-year-old kid, you walk in, do you remember having a sense of the bigness of it, or it's just you were just doing your thing and that was it?
I was doing my thing. I didn't get a sense of the bigness of it. I got a sense that I wanted to make friends with all the crew. I wanted to be on good terms with everybody and know that, and have them know I was working really hard because they'd been through a tough experience. They've been, well, you can speak to that because you know the whole crew.
Actually, I have something right here that'll speak to that. I got an email this afternoon from the first assistant director on Back to the Future, David McGifford. We interviewed David for the book, but we were really interested in his perception and his point of view. We didn't talk too much about what Michael was going through. That's what the book is about. So we sent an early copy of the book to everybody that participated in interviews with us. And David read it over the weekend, and he wrote to us today. And I just wanted to read something that I just thought really struck me about how the crew felt about Michael coming in. So this is from David McGifford. When Michael writes about his nervousness in the book, about being able to fit in and to bring Marty to life, none of that was obvious when he was on the set. In reading the book, it fascinated me to realize how much he internalized the stresses of filming, and instead demonstrated to us, the crew, that he was totally and enthusiastically committed to his work. It is not an exaggeration to say that his enthusiasm is what led the whole shooting crew to believe that we would be able to handle the tightened schedule, the reshoots, and the long hours, because he made his double job look so easy and so natural, and for that, I will always be in awe of him. I cannot wait for his fans to immerse themselves in Future Boy. They are in for something personal and rare, and they will love it. Thank you both, David. That's nice.
This is, you made connections with people. Are any great Crispin Glover stories that
Yeah, there's lots of Crispin Glover stories. Not a lot. I tell, but Crispin is so great because he's so talented, and it was just a difficult thing. He was a perfect guy for the part, and he was perfect in the part. Not a false move, just everything was brilliant. But he's very unique, and he works in a unique way, and so for me, I'm all for that because I love to work with people. I work with Chris, I work with Leah, I work with Tom Wilson, and on the movie, and they all brought their own thing. And for me, for Marty's a tour guide. Marty's just showing people around the movie, so I don't have to. So the more stuff people gave me to react to, the better. So Chris obviously gave me a lot to react to. But Crispin was like, he would just get something in his mind that he wanted to do, and then he would just do it, and you couldn't talk him out of it. And I tried to appeal to him, hey buddy, you know, if we don't get this, they won't have good coverage on us, and we want good coverage on us. And he knew all that, not to say he didn't understand that, but he just said the thing he wanted to do. So I'm glad that we had the push and pull we had in a few things. And it would never antagonistic, always great, always with great respect for me, because I just thought he was brilliant. And I didn't want to upset him, I didn't want to throw him off his thing. But he had a thing where the hair had to be down in a certain way. Or he had to sweep his broom. And I said, what's a sweep? I'm just curious. And he said, it's a sweep of indignation. Which is brilliant. Brilliant. And so Bob would have arguments with him, and I'd say, Bob, I think he's a genius. I don't know what to tell you. I think he's brilliant. So we did the scene with the hanging the clothes on the washing line, the laundry line, and they had to. It was a very interestingly constructed shot. Bob is a real technician and a real meticulous craftsman, and so he had this shot set up where we're on a plane, and I would move down, say my line and turn, and he had Crispin coming this way. It was all very kind of geometric and cool. And but if you screwed up a bit of it, if you stepped out of line, then the whole shot was forgot. So the crew eventually built a little fence around Crispin's feet so he couldn't move. And like on one hand you say, well, that's funny, but on the other hand it's kind of shitty for Crispin, and I just wanted to get the scene done, but it was interesting. It was an interesting time.
You talk about in the book how the two characters, Marty McFly and Michael Keaton, Alex Keaton and Michael Keaton, that you would be clearly friends with Marty and not necessarily Alex.
Well, Alex is a bit of a blowhard. And Marty's more like me. Like Marty's just drifting through space and time, having a good time, and wants to play his guitar and wants to hang out with his friend who's nuts and spend time with his girlfriend, and that was me. Alex is so revved up. I mean, to be Alex, you really got to burn. Like with Marty, he was all hanging back. What's going on? Yeah. Alex. So it was a lot of fun.
We got some questions from the audience. The first one is, I am an actor, and I always learn something from the characters I play. What's one thing of your favorite thing that you learned playing Marty McFly?
I think I learned about working with other people. I learned about letting other people's talents take you to places where you might otherwise not go, but still not losing your sense of what you want to do and what your sense of what your place is. But so you can learn a lot from other people, and when you're in doubt, just sit back and let them, if they're talented, acknowledge their talent and let them take you to places that you might not otherwise go. Like Chris Lloyd. The great thing about Chris is he's a master of exposition, and what's great about him in that movie is the thing in acting called laying pipe, which is laying the exposition. Like someone has to be the guy, the cop, who goes, well, he did that crime back in '62 where he did all. Like the guy knows because he was on the case too. Like, why are you telling me this? but just laying exposition and it's a service to the audience, and it's one of the great pains in the butt of acting is laying pipe. But Christopher did this thing where he was all exposition. That's all he did. Was like, and he's a genius at exposition. He's like the world's greatest layer of pipe. and it's just amazing. So I never recognized that before. And so I recognize that, and I think, well, all I have to do is react to that, keep it alive, and support him while I can in that, and not do anything to suck the energy out of that, but to let him do that, and the way I do that is to pay attention, and to be looking at, like with, one of the things I do with Chris all the time is, I always make sure that whatever I was doing in the shot, that I was alive. I was looking at him, or I was making a movement, or I was doing something, so that they could cut to me, because his exposition pieces are so long. They didn't play as one take. He had to cut them into takes, so you want to get the best of each one. So I figured it my job to just lay space open for them to get the scissors in, to get this whole thing together. And so I was learning stuff like that, and I was learning stuff like that from Bob and Bob Gale, the writer, and Bob Zemeckis, the director. They taught me so much about how to, but the technical side of acting, and the technical side of filmmaking, and it's not like some kind of approach to acting or that whole stuff is, they don't want to know. They want to know what the audience thinks. They don't want to know what the filmmakers think. That they want to just tell the story as they see it. I think you're really selling yourself short. You do that because everybody's got something else that informs you in your mission to do a good job.
Did you ever think Back to the Future would be a hit film? If so, when did you realize it would become the iconic film it is today?
I don't know. I never sensed it'd be the iconic. I'm going to say the thing that I love about it is it's like when I was a kid, we had I lived in Canada. We had 2 channels, and we had a black and white TV. And every year they'd play Wizard of Oz at Christmas time. And it's funny because you think about like a movie that you see that you like. You've seen it 30, 40 times because you own it or you download it or whatever. But this was like, it was on twice a year. And so somehow I saw it every year. And you just planned to watch it. I love the Wizard of Oz. I love the flying monkeys. And so now I feel like I'm a flying monkey.
If you could do it all over again, would you have the exact same career or be a successful musician?
Well, my thing about music is not so much being a successful musician. I don't care if I was a rock star. Like, there's a thing with if you play guitar well, and I don't, but if you play it well, like, you'll find that you sit down in a chair in the corner by the window and you play the guitar, and like, I remember specifically my mom would say, like, at 5:15, say, come upstairs when you're done or whatever. And like 2 hours would pass. And I wouldn't even realize I was just playing. That's what music does to you. Music just takes you in and it has its own sense of time, ironically, and its own hold on you. In a way that acting, I love acting and I love telling stories. And that's the thing, like to tell a story with the guitar, that's something. Tell a story with words, well, that's how you tell stories. But tell a story with the guitar, like Jimi Hendrix or
Eric Clapton.
Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Heroes.
People are great.
Do you have any items from the sets of Family Ties or Back to the Future as mementos? Do you have any? What do you have?
I got a whale from Family Ties. It's a whale above the sink, above the stove. This brass whale that I took. But I didn't take anything valuable. I was stupid. I should have taken the goddamn guitar.
You should have had that.
Yeah.
Of all your accomplishments, which did your mother talk about the most?
My mother was very happy with Foundation and the work we do with the Foundation.
That's right. And Donny's on the board.
As are you.
Both on the board.
Well,
Yeah,
I know
both of us
everybody
are on the
wants to know.
board.
How you feeling? How you doing?
Feel all right. I'm going to see him, okay?
I loved you on Curb Your Enthusiasm episode with Larry David. What was that like for you? I want to know the answer to that.
That was great. Larry's great.
And by the way, shout out to Curtis Schenker, who had a great cameo in that.
Yeah.
Hey, Curtis.
Well, you all know that. But Curtis would say, you all know that. Curtis would tell us about all the fan mail he got from the 2-minute walk on, you know. He was great. It was a great time, and it was just great. I mean, it was I couldn't believe when he pitched it to me. I said, you know, people with Parkinson's are going to hate us. And then I thought about it. I said, no, they won't. I think they'll like it, because it's humanizing, and it's the fact that some people have difficulty dealing with people with disabilities or chronic illness or whatever. That's not our fault, and at the same time, you can't get mad at people about it. So it just starts a conversation. And for me, most of my conversations start and end with humor. Anyway, I just like to look at what's funny about something. And so great to get an opportunity to, what's funny about Parkinson's? Well, if you hand somebody a soda, it's going to get all over them. Or you can always, like another character I loved was a character I played on The Good Wife. And he openly used his illness to manipulate people. And I thought, wow, cool. I can explore that and not do that. I can be that and not be that. And I can see what that feels like and not have to worry about being a jerk. So yeah, it was great. I loved Scribbling too. It was really fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Michael J. Fox.